Today, Old Man Winter's coming here in the Northeast, and what does that bring? That's the W word. Yep, we're going to talk about antenna wire maintenance and prepping for maybe the next outage. Who knows? So next on Live Free and Ham. Well, hello and welcome to another Live Free and Ham podcast. This is our bi-weekly show where we discuss ham radio topics in New Hampshire, New England, and beyond. So whether you're a regular listener or a first-time guest, which we hope you are, we're excited to have you here and appreciate your support. And thanks again for tuning in tonight's show. So let's get into the show. I'm your host, as always, call sign N1JUR, with my co-hosts
Paul, N1OG.
And the General, W1STJ, Todd.
Where's Shaq? All right. Well, if you get that joke, you know how to do a dad joke then. All right. So before we get into our topics here, we got a few things to catch up on. As always, you can head over to our storefront at livefreeandham.com/shop and check out all of our cool merch. We've been a little lax here. You know, it's been a little busy for a little while. We haven't had a chance to update a lot of some of the shirts in there. We've got to replace Paul's Jump Someday shirt with the I Did It. We're working on those plans. And we definitely have a couple of newer ones coming. So definitely come by, check it out, keep your eyes peeled, you know, put those little Google trackers on. And, you know, once we get our shop updated, you'll get alerted and you can be the first to grab some cool merch from us. And as always, you know, we appreciate everybody who's purchased stuff from us in the past. And thank you again for supporting our show. And, you know, as always, you know, one way to support our show outside of the merch is always way through feedback. You know, you can always send us a review message through our SMS link, or if you're an Apple Podcast listener, you can do the Apple Podcast reviews. And so with that, you can also head over to our website and use our comment form. There are a few people in the past that have used that way too. So we recommend you, or if you're so inclined to join our Discord, head over there, go to the show channel, let us know what you think about the show there. And we'd love to share it on our next episode. So, but with that, we obviously always go into...
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story.
Hey everybody, we got some news.
Slow down, Boog. Let me handle this. We've got some news. I've got bad news and bad news.
I have reviewed ship's personnel, Captain.
Congratulations, you've got mail.
Well, with that, Paul, I hand it over to Todd. You know, what's up, man? How are we doing the review bucket?
We have no reviews. We have no mail.
We need a sound effect for that. Paul? There we go. Our marketing budget's a little, you know, shallow and empty this month. So, you know, if you can help out that way, that'd be awesome. We'll get better sounds.
I've been looking. Right. There's nothing. So unfortunately, I don't have any mail to go over tonight.
Well,
mission failed. We'll get them next time.
There we go. The budget has increased slowly but surely. All right. Well, that's a bummer. You know, you can always head over to our website. You can email us at livefreeandham@gmail.com, or you could use our SMS link, like I said before, in the show note. Let us know what you like, what you hate, what you don't like. Anything. Like, let us know what your favorite color is. We'll be happy to tell people in the world what your favorite color is. That's how desperate we are here, folks. Just kidding. Either way, you know, you could always send us a review. We'd love to hear from it. And we just want to know how we're doing, you know, it'll go from there. And so with that, you know, every month we say this, and every month it's always the same. We always have our live show scheduled on our YouTube channel. So make sure, if you haven't, head over there and subscribe, that you do subscribe and ring that notification bell so you can get notified when we go live, because every month we go live. And we always have something interesting, special guests. Sometimes we just sit around and talk to each other. You know, that's just kind of the way it goes. It's simple as that. How you doing, Paul? I'm doing fine. You know, how are you doing, Todd? I'm doing great. You know, it's just simple as that. And then we end the show. But, you know, enough of the banter there. You know, as we do every episode, and we love doing, we're going to dive into
Doing
our...
good. Doing good.
You do, that's good.
Do good? Do good?
You're doing good.
Absolutely, I do. Good.
Doing good, Bob. Doing real good.
Right now, my only outlet is my ham radio.
All right. Well, as we all have come to know and love this episode, shtick, whatever you want to call it, we want to do good. We want to hear about the good that's happening in ham radio. We want to share, spread the love. And so there's always 55 different reasons to complain, and we don't want to be one of those 55 reasons. We want to hear the awesome stuff that you might be doing with your buddies, or your club or an organization that revolves around ham radio. Come share it with us, because I'm almost positive, and I'm going to throw it out to the floor here, guys. Any do good this week?
I didn't really hear of anything that was clubs doing good, but I just want to give a quick shout out to everybody that participated in Noble Skywave. It's a big Army and Army Mars event that just took place this weekend. And from what I understand, it was very successful. So great job.
Cool. All right. Well, that's at least some good news, man. That's ham radio. That's what we want to share with folks. So if you haven't learned about something like that, you definitely head over to Flag and Torch, or if you're in the military, you probably have heard about this. Get involved, get excited about ham radio, and just get out there and hang out and have fun and play radio outdoors, man. That's what it's all about, right? So with that, Todd, have you heard any good stuff at all?
Not really. I know some of the guys in our club are starting to do more POTA, trying it out for the first time. So that's a positive thing. So word's getting out to get out there, and they're enjoying it. I've been talking on the repeater about it, and I've been letting Marvin use my flex until he gets his. So that's a good thing. If you're a flex owner, let your pals give it a shot. You might turn them into a flex guy.
Or ICOM owners, hey, you got to give Paul credit for what's the software you use, Paul?
RC4.
Okay, so if you're an RC4 user or don't know what it is, check it out, or email Paul. He can get you set up and show you how to do it, and get you configured there, and get more people out there, helping others to play radio when you can't play radio. You might be in an apartment and not be able to set up an antenna. That's a perfect example of that. So that's awesome. Okay, well, so with that, obviously,
Once again, the communication
so with that, because of the communication process seems to be broken down here, this is what I'm going to tell you. We want to hear your do good stuff. So these are the ways you can send in your do good. One, email us at livefreeandham@gmail.com. Simple and easy. Everybody knows how to use their email client. Just send us a do good. Put do good in the subject line, and we will make sure we read it in the next episode. Or you can head over to livefreeandham.com/do good, all one word. Fill out the form. It'll come right to us, and we will happily read it online and share it and spread the love. Or if you're an overachiever, like a few people like we know, Mike, N2MAK is one, use WinLink. Paul is listening. He is standing by, waiting a bated breath for you to send him an email on a do good in whatever your story is. I mean, that is simple. Just do it. Send it. We'll share it. And if you do WinLink, we'll have you on our next live show. So, time is coming.
And he stays up all night waiting for those WinLinks to come
all
through.
the time. He has got his radio on 24/7, waiting patiently. He's like Santa Claus waiting for, every letter to show the North Pole. Okay. Well, so you've heard it here. So you know the 4 ways that you can get a hold of us and share your do good episode. And so once again, please share the do good, spread the love. People want to hear it. It might spark some new ideas with some new folks in their clubs or in their places they hang out and play radio. And it will just keep making ham radio that much better. So with that, we're going to dovetail into one of our favorite episodes, because, we're here to support Todd. We're here to make sure that he can join the ranks of the next extras in the world. And so with that, we are...
And now for something a little extra with Todd, W1STJ.
So just for the record, I went on the app today to do a quick study, and it said I hadn't studied in 7 days. I'm like, oops.
It's like a confession, man. It's literally just like the Catholic diocese hanging on the background.
Oh, man. So yeah, I might be a little rusty, but I got to get on this.
Have you genuflected? Have you prayed the rosary? You know, the whole 9 yards, man.
Yeah.
Come on, to our Father Ham.
All right, let's see.
So
I mentioned
go ahead.
to get moving into sub-element 5. So start studying, Todd.
All right.
This is your warning. Your final shot over the bow.
All right, you didn't want to do your little spiel.
Hey, you know, at this point, if you've been listening this long, you already know my spiel. Just go right to it, VE Quizmaster.
All right, 4 out of 5 VE Quizmasters agree. This is awesome.
Exactly, and the ARL is not available for comment.
All right, Todd. So jumping right into it. Question number 1: which of the following can be used to determine the Q of a series-tuned circuit? Is it A, the ratio of inductive reactance to capacitive reactance? B, the resonant frequency of the circuit? C, the bandwidth of the circuit's frequency response? Or D, the frequency shift?
I'm going to go with A.
All right. Todd says A. Eric, do you agree?
I should pay attention to the question.
You're trying to figure out the Q of a series tuned circuit.
Frequency. It's not C. Bandwidth. It's yeah. We got to go with inductance over capacitance. And we're both wrong.
I thought it was the right. I was also wrong. It is the bandwidth of the frequency's response.
Well.
All right. So, quick, silly attempt at remembering the answer. The right answer has frequency response in it. So, every Q question deserves a response. So Q stands for quality. The frequency response is a measurement of quality. It's a much better explanation, but I dig the silly little way to remember it too.
Yeah, it works.
I'm just glad you got it wrong too.
Suck!
All right, here we go. Question number 2. Which trigger mode is most effective when using an oscilloscope to measure a linear power supply's output ripple? Is it A, level, B, single shot, C, line, or D, edge? And you've already had this one, so...
I know. I'm stuck between A and D. I'm going to go with A.
Eric?
Yeah, I'm going to go with A.
I'm going to tell you you're both wrong, because it's C.
Well, we're on our way to really being bad.
Failing the extra. At least we don't have to hear that song.
If you remember, we've had this on the show before, and
linear
because
line.
You're measuring linear power supply output ripple, you use a line.
Right. Gotcha. 100%. It's still an extra.
And the funny thing is the last time that this question came up, Eric got it right using the exact logic to get it right, and he got it wrong this time.
Well, I'm a lack of sleep, so yeah, I'll use that as my excuse.
All right. Well, for the third and final question, what causes interference received as a series of carriers at regular intervals across a wide frequency range? One more time. What causes interference received as a series of carriers at regular intervals across a wide frequency range? Okay. Is it A, wireless security camera transmitters? B, switch mode power supplies? C, electric fences? Or D, radar transmitters?
don't remember this question, but I'm going to go with B.
Yeah, I definitely know it's switch mode.
It is, in fact, switch mode power supplies.
Well, you know, because I've had experience with electric fences, so I definitely know it's not those.
So, in regards to the switch mode power supplies, interference is generated because the frequency that the transistor turning on and off is often hundreds of kilohertz, which produces a square wave, which radiates a large amount of EMI as a result of the large current that the transistor switches. So there you go.
There you go. Well then, here we go. No 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Woohoo!
No, you can't. You cannot play that.
We got one right. Do you have one for the one right?
1 out of 3 ain't so good. Or 1 out of 3 is bad.
1 out of 3 in baseball ain't bad. It's almost the batting 1,000 sometimes. All right. Well, so with that, if if you are in the studying for your technician, general, or extra class, hopefully you're doing a hell of a lot better than I am and Todd today, because that was not a good performance. Yes, that was not a good performance at all. But in that case, you want to head over to hamstudy.org, because it's an excellent resource to getting your ticket. And it's also one of those resources that will haunt you and hunt you down if you aren't studying on a regular interval. So keep that in mind. It'll be worse than your mother saying, "Hey, did you brush your teeth and comb your hair?" And so, as always, if you've received your license or upgraded, let us know. We'd like to recognize you on the next episode for your hard work and effort, because we are going to do that for Todd. Why do I keep doing that, man? Anyway, it's one of those evenings. Yes, Paul Newman. Exactly.
No relation, even though I wish
to the salad dressing guy, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I was related to him, but I'm not. Different spelling.
Well, there you go. Well, so with all his hard work and effort, we'll hopefully celebrate with him and you as well. If you want to email us at livefreeandham@gmail.com, we will make sure we mention it on the next show. And as always, as we get into our usual format, Paul, how's your ham radio week been?
Well, let's see. It's been a long week, to be honest. So after Support Your Parks weekend last weekend, I went and did my first soda. And I'll tell you, I learned a lot. So it was I picked the shortest of the 48 4,000 footers, Mount Tecumseh, and I started at the Waterville Valley Ski Area parking, and I went up. It took about 3 hours to reach the summit. Stayed at the summit for an hour. Made 4 contacts, so it was a successful activation.
Now, HF or 2 meter or both?
Yeah, HF. I wasn't able to raise anybody on 2 meters. I called out on the calling frequency a few times. I called out on the adventure frequency a few times, and I guess nobody could hear me. So I took the Reliance end-fed antenna, and it was kind of cool. Where the rock was like, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches below like the trees, right to the summit. And so I just stood there and I draped the antenna across the little treetops and made like a little lazy L with it. And I mean, the SWR wasn't great. It was like 3 to 1, but it was good enough to get the 4 contacts in the log. On the downside, I took the wrong trail down and added about 6 miles to the hike. And so by the time I reached the base of the mountain, I was on the wrong side of the mountain, and so then it was another 6 miles down Tripoli Road to get back to where I had parked. Fortunately for me, I flagged down another hiker that was going to their camping setup that night, and they were willing to drive me the remaining 4 miles. So I got a ride for the last 4 miles back, but it was an experience, and I'm going to do it again. But I will not be using the Gigaparts Explorer backpack. It is not a very good mountain climbing bag. It doesn't have top strap adjustments. And so the way that the weight rides in it, it kind of sits low and
right on your back. Ugh.
Well, so you would like it to sit on your hips, right? But the the belly strap doesn't actually give you any support or anything. And so even if it's cinched all the way down, it doesn't ride right. Very, very, very uncomfortable for the 9 miles total that I did. And so now I'm looking at other bag options and trying to find a better bag for doing summits. But yeah, never a dull moment though, you know. I didn't get to play in the contest this weekend. I was too busy doing Halloween decorations and other things. But I'm gonna try and figure out the mess in my recliner over here, which is my POTA setup, and I'll try and get out to a park tomorrow. So
cool. So okay, so a couple of things. You did go with a companion, so that made the sting of messing up even harder, I'm sure.
Yeah, especially since I had read ahead of time that the summit was confusing, and if you take the trail to the northwest, it will take you down the wrong side of the mountain, and it will not be good. And I had said several times at the summit, I said, look, I know we cannot go down to the northwest. There's a loop at the summit. So as long as we came up one and we go down the other, we'll be fine. And I had neglected to take a second bearing with my compass before we departed. And I took the trail to the northwest.
Why didn't you go down the trail you came up on?
Well,
because it makes a loop, and the trail that I came up on was the Sozeman, which is the more difficult section. It's literally, I mean, it's like 3 feet wide, and it's rock cliff, and I mean, you're scaling, you're climbing and scrambling over the rocks, and fortunately, I had Watson, which is great because like I'd climb up a couple rocks, and then I'd get him up next to me, and then I'd have him help kind of pull me up.
It's like an anchor point.
Go Watson, go.
Yeah, just you get him up above me, and then use him, and yep.
So when you say a loop, you mean you go up one and then down back to the parking lot, but it's like one big trail. It's not like you're up.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, when you first said that, I thought it was like a loop around the top, and then you'd go back down. I get it.
No, so what I should have done, right, was I should have come up the way that I came up and gone straight across when I left.
Right.
And that would have looped back, and then I would have been back on the same trail I came up.
Right.
But instead, I went to the left, which is the northwest, instead of the north.
And went halfway around the mountain. Wow. Yeah, I've been there.
It was it was an experience.
You'll remember it, man. That's the funny part. It's like I had same experiences, and like I sympathize with you, and I was like, man. But my mistake was I ended up going 10 miles out in the wrong direction, and had to like backtrack that 10 miles, and then the other 5 that I was supposed to do on the trail. So we were in the middle of the dark when we did it, and I was just like, oh, this was just a bad decision. and I had crappy, before packs got really good, like I had the big wireframe metal ones, and it was an experience as a kid for sure. Never forgot it though.
No, to give me kind of a further kick in the sack here, right? Is I got hours and hours and hours of fantastic footage all the way up, and then at the summit as well, and all of my contacts, and I've got it on the hard drive, but because my computer storage is so limited at this point, with all the, I mean, I've got 3/4 of the hard drive filled with just software.
Yeah.
So yeah, trying to do video editing of I mean, you're talking, I think it's close to 40 some odd gigs of video, right? it just doesn't like it. The computer has been hating me all week. I've been fighting it, trying to get that video edited because I want to put it out. And yeah.
Oh, although on a sidebar, you forgot to mention you did put out your jump video.
Oh yes, I did. The cool thing with that actually was as I sat down to do the jump video editing, Carlos had posted in Patreon and he was like, "Hey, I'm doing video editing. Jump on in, to StreamYard if you want." So I jumped into StreamYard with him and I'm doing my jump video. He's doing a park video and we're just shooting the shit the whole time. And I've literally got a grin ear to ear because as I'm doing the video, it's all replaying in my mind. And it was, yeah. I could watch that video 1,000 times over. It never gets old.
So how much footage did you get for the jump video versus how much did you edit out?
So the footage that they gave me it was a little better than 2 minutes. And because they had edited it into a video, and then they gave me like a highlight reel, and so I took the video that they gave me and I added in the footage that I had taken, and I should have actually added in. My wife had sent me a video of me landing. So it was kind of a different perspective, and I didn't think about it until after I had rendered it. I was like, "Oh damn, I had that footage. I should have thrown that in there." But
you can put your clips out on Patreon, man.
Yeah, I mean, I stretched it out to an 8-minute video, with all the precursor stuff, and then the last 2.5 minutes is the best.
Oh yeah. Did you get a chance to see it, Paul? Sorry. Damn it.
No.
Todd, sorry.
No, I haven't.
Today.
But I'm going to watch it right after this.
So I won't spoil the fun, but yeah, like I when it hit your Patreon page, I was just like, I turned to the wife. I was on the couch. I said, "Hey, you want to see Paul's jump?" And she's like, "Hell yeah!" And I'm like, "Okay." So threw it up on the big screen and streamed it via the phone. And they were like, "Oh my gosh, his face is so like they were commenting on your face being blown." But then he's like, "His face looks the same when he landed on the ground." I'm like, "No, that is his smile." I'm like, there's no doubt in his mind. Like he literally stretched his face. His smile was so freaking huge. So it was definitely good.
That's awesome.
Well, anything more? Because I know you sound like you've had a really busy week.
Yeah, no, that's good enough.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, Todd, how is your Ham Radio week going?
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. I did nothing. I did not get on the contest tonight. I did not do a POTA. I did not do anything. I've just been prepping for the winter coming around the house, getting leaves, cleaning up stuff, putting the outdoor furniture down to the shelter, organizing that, getting rid of all the stupid animals that are living in my shelter, that kind of stuff. And then, I just didn't do much ham radio, just on the repeater. I've been talking to everyone every morning. I think this week I've gotten someone, Bill or someone's on the air. So it's good. I like doing that, but no HF stuff. Thursday, I think I'm going to be off because I'm bringing my daughter to college, Suffolk. She wants to go do a tour of Suffolk College, and my buddy works there. So he's giving us a tour, and then we're going to go out to dinner with him in Boston. So nice. I'm going to take Thursday off, and I'm hoping Wednesday I can get in a POTA down at the rail trail.
Yeah, that'd be good.
It's supposed to be nice Wednesday and Thursday. It's supposed to be in the 70s, so should be good.
Telling you, man, it's one of those Indian summers again, and we're all deep freeze is coming soon.
Yeah, it was cold though. I went flying this morning. The RC said it was cold this morning. I mean, it said it was only 40, but it felt like it was 20, and it warmed up, but it was still cold. I was like, "Oh, do I need to bring gloves?"
It was not sweater weather, that was for sure. There was no sweater weather, jacket and a sweater on. So yeah, that sucks. Well, dude, hey, that's okay. You're studying for your test, and you're on the repeater. That's even the better part. Like, I think you and I keep passing each other every once in a while in terms of hit. We usually have a conversation.
Well, I heard you, and then you were talking to someone, and then you're like, "All right, I gotta go," and then I got in right after, but you're already gone. So I didn't want to interrupt your cue. So I mean, during the day, if I'm in the car, if I'm in my car, it's because the work cars are someone already took them, and I'm not in it very long. So it's like I feel bad, like to say something and then gotta go. I'm at my destination.
I don't take offense to it, so feel free. I feel worse off like every time like I go out and do errands, and it's like every 5 minutes I'll get to my destination and we'll be in a thick of it. Like I was talking to Christian, I think, and I was like, I got to the post office, I'm like, Christian, dude, I gotta jump out of the truck real quick, go to check the PO box, be right back. So I jump out and come back in, and we pick it back up, and then I'm like, oh, I gotta go get dog food, and you keep going through that list, and it's like, I'm like, Christian, he's like, yeah, I know, don't worry, just go. It's like at this point, like, okay, whatever. So it's all good.
Our repeater, the Bedford repeater, N1QC repeater in Bedford, it's been doing really well. I mean, it's been very clear. Where was I at? I was kind of far away. Was I out in Bow, maybe? Bow or what's that? Yeah, what's past Bow? If you're at Bow and you're heading like west on 89. Whatever town those are, just past Bow and Concord.
Oh, whatever. Hampstead.
Henniker. Henniker. I was getting a repeater in Henniker.
Huh.
That's pretty good distance. I mean, for our repeater.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I've just been doing that, and nothing really. I wish I was doing more. I really do, but I was a busy work week, and then I just needed to get some stuff done. And now that baseball's over, I was slacking during the baseball season, not getting stuff done, and if I don't get it done now, it's going to start snowing. I'm going to be screwed. So,
well, here's the one final question. Then, are you going to be another statistic like KC5HWB with your DX Commander?
It's still sitting in the box over here.
So is his, but he's been going on 5 years. I think the last time I checked.
I don't know how long I've had mine. Hey, but you know what? Today, So today I'm cutting them. This is like the weirdest thing. So I have a riding mower, and it's a pretty big. I think it's like 55 inches. It's a pretty big riding mower. It's got 3 blades in it. So I've got Zach out there with my full big gas leaf blower, and he blows all the thick leaves out, and then I cut the grass, and I pick up the rest of them. So it's like a 2-man operation. We get it done pretty quick. I'm going to dump the leaves, and all of a sudden I see in front of the lawnmower was my lawnmower blade, like just sitting there on the ground with the bolt. I'm like, what the? I'm like, is this mine? Like, I'm like, holy shit. So
it fall off?
Yeah, but I didn't hear it. Like, it didn't like go flying or anything. Like,
wow.
It was just there. So I got lucky. So I was like, shit. And I just started. So I'm like, all right, I drive the mower. My dad lives 2 houses down. So I said, all right, he's got a car lift. I'm like, oh, it'll be easy. I'll just drive it on the lift and bolt it back on. And of course, the freaking wheels of the lawnmower don't fit on the goddamn ramp because they're too wide. And I'm like, you gotta be shitting me. So he's like, oh, I got some ramps you can move, like those portable car ramps.
Yeah, car ramps.
So I just drove it up that, and I went underneath, and it was easy. I just used the socket thing and put it back on. But I'm like, nothing's easy. I wasn't even gonna tell him. I was just gonna go in the garage and put it up, raise the thing up, and he wouldn't even know. And he was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I need the ramps so I could fix this stupid blade. And the other thing was like, maybe I'll just cut it with the 2 blades. Skip the one. But I got it done. So
uneven lawn.
Yeah, but I definitely need new blades. They're pretty beat up. So I'll do that in the spring.
Yes, that's I guess the positives for me for not being on or being in an HOA. But anyway.
Yeah. That's it. So yeah, I will
cool.
Try to do more for next week. Hopefully I'll be able to tell you a POTA story or something.
Sounds good to me, man. Either way. All right.
What was your ham radio week like, Eric?
Oh, thank you, Paul, for asking. I appreciate it so much.
I should ask you when I'm done. So, Eric,
don't throw me a curve here. So, ham radio week. This week, as we're recording, it was CQ Worldwide. I decided to do a live stream with that. Learned a lot, we'll have to say. I have a feeling I'm going to have to keep tweaking that. But overall, my audio levels are great. The 2 or 3 people that I had on all enjoyed and had a lot of questions, so it was good. But I was anticipating that I was going to probably bounce around on the bands when I was doing it, but I stuck on 10 meters. 10 meters, I could barely, like, I only streamed for an hour and I could barely get through. I started at the top of the band and worked my way down. I was only a quarter of the way through the top of the band before the hour came up. And I'm like, I haven't even had a chance to get to like the middle part of 28, 100 and even below that. And I'm just like that. I was like, oh my gosh, there are so many stations out there on CQ Worldwide. It was fun to get in there. I mean, I'm just a points, giver, so I don't, really spend a whole lot, submitting logs or anything like that. But it was fun. I got a chance to play around with the flex and learn a little bit more about, contesting. And so I did some of that. And then I'm trying to think if I did. Oh, yes. I finished up my HF install on the truck. So that's 100% done. I finally did all the bonding and grounding. Sad to report that my truck is so RFI noisy that no matter what I do, if the only way to get rid of it is to pull out the the motor and basically run off of maybe batteries, because that's literally the only way I'm going to get rid of RFI coming in from the radio. Now the saving grace is, if depending on what band I'm on, as long as I don't operate on 40, I don't put the truck into a weird limp mode and send the computer into this tizzy. If I stay on 20 and 10, I can put the noise blanker on, and it gets rid of good, most of the alternator whine noise, but it's still not that great. But hey, I'm not going to probably spend a whole lot of time making contacts in the truck when it's running, unless I warm up the truck. But most of the time, I'm just going to be an accessory or running off a battery. And so, I'm happy with it. I've got a couple of few what we'll call 2.0 add-ons to it. So I'm looking forward to kind of sharing that, and I'm finishing up those videos. But like you, Paul, I have a lot of video, and I'm trying to squeeze out hard drive space myself too. So I know the pains of trying to find places to put it, and then figure out how to edit it, and then get rid of it, and never hold on to it again.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you need to buy stock in ferrite beads. You got to ferrite bead everything.
I do. Sadly, I do. I have everything double wrapped in some very thick, ring ferrites, the clip-on ones. I mean, everything's pretty much, including the up to the antenna into the radio, has a ferrite clamp on it, or has a couple of them. And you'd think they would take care of it. And then I'm like, oh, maybe the last saving grace is grounding the radio to, basically the chassis of the truck. No, it's less, but it's still there. It's like, it's sadly, Christian confirms.
Aren't you supposed to ground your whole truck?
Yeah, I did.
Like all the
I
way
ground the
around?
frame. I grounded the frame, the tailgate, the doors, the hood, the exhaust, the antenna where it mounts to my back rack. I mean, I have grounding straps over everywhere of the truck. I mean, it's like ridiculous how many I have, and I did overkill. So like I ground the frame down the frame so it was bare metal, and then primered over it, and so everything's got some bare metal to bare metal contact, but it took it down just a little bit. It wasn't enough. And I've got to go back and review the video to see if it was a really big one, but my test before and after, at least when I initially did it, didn't really make that much of a dent where I've been totally quiet. So yeah, it is what it is.
So
I can listen to HF.
I won't be putting HF in my my Jeep anytime soon. I'll just hook it up manually when I want to do a winter POTA and
then operate off a battery. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's kind of my thought is I had the antenna. I went a little farther with the buy once, cry once approach, and put a SO239 bulkhead connector off the back of my bumper. And so I've got a coax, R8X coax that runs up on the inside of the frame, comes up into the cab, and then goes into a coax switch. So I can either put a big 10-meter mast in the back of my hitch mount, and then tie the antenna right into that coax and use the radio from that, or I can use my ATAS that I have on my truck. So I've got options. It's just, what I want to do, at that point, if I want to run a dipole, and like I said, I've got battery hookup, so I can hook up right to the radio, and I get digital. So yeah, I'm sitting pretty. I'm happy. It's done, and I just now have to edit all the videos and get them up on the channel. So those are coming soon.
So yeah, I was at I forget where I was, but I saw a truck, and I couldn't tell if they were ham radio antennas or if it was like some kind of weather station. like a weather hunting truck, like searching for bad storms or whatever, because it had all kinds of antennas, but it had like a little satellite thing. And I was like, what? And I should have asked. Like, I was at the gas station. I was like, what the hell is that? Is that guy doing ham radio, or is he but I didn't want to bug him. Yeah, right. It was just like, and then when we were at Nearfest, I saw some like car that had like antennas that were. Did you see that car? It was like this little dinky car, and it had like 10 antennas on it, and they were. I was like, that whole freaking antennas must weigh more than the car.
That and just like, dude, where are you running all that coax? Like, there's no way you can get all that coax into the vehicle and then put it into some sense of a coax switch. This is just impossible.
Like I'm just all I could think of is like this was like a guy that's like Eric's next door neighbor that the HOA said you can't use ham radio, you can't have antennas, so he just mounted them all to the roof of his car.
That would be, he would be a perfect candidate for that.
Yeah, I still think we should just get a small trailer and put a huge mast on it with a huge freaking beam and just park it right in your spot.
Well, we're about a third of the way there. I have a trailer. I don't know if I want to put a big mast there, but we're talking field day plans though for that.
Yeah. All right. So what are we talking about, Ted? We're talking about what? Winter, prepping.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the things that kind of I was running into and we alluded to and talked a little bit about last episode was around the lines of, preparing a little bit more for emergencies. We've obviously been hearing a lot in the news. We've been hearing a lot of other podcasts and shows and YouTubers talk about all of the things that they do to prepare for storms and some of the radio communications and stuff. It kind of got me thinking of like, well, what am I doing? Just in general, I'm not like a big prepper at all, and I would never constitute myself one, but I've got a little bit of a kind of a process going, both ham radio and we'll say non-ham radio, for like a lot of the things that we're going to run to. I mean, we're not due for another 500-year storm yet, as far as I know, but winter around here, tends to bite hard in some cases. So I think talking around that, what do you guys do yourself? I know Paul's probably got a good list there, and I know Todd, you probably do some stuff that's ham radio not. But
the first thing I do is read the Farmer's Almanac. And that tells you exactly what you're in for. Yeah, no.
Okay.
But I do, I am like a little weather geek, and I like to follow weather and read. Not listening to like the weather guy in the news, but I like to go onto the apps and read and kind of make my own predictions. But the way it's set up now and what they're predicting, and I don't know, they've been predicting the same thing, that we're going to have warmer temperatures, more moisture, more ice storms, less snow, but depends if the jet stream. So they basically they don't really know. If the jet stream stays north of us, we're going to get a lot of ice and shitty weather. If the jet stream drops, we're going to get a lot of snow. So
makes sense.
I'm hoping that it drops, because if it drops, I'd rather have the snow than the ice and that kind of stuff. And what I do to prep is I call Eric and I say, hey, my antenna came down last winter. Can you come over here and shoot it back up in the tree? And let's get it up higher this time.
Okay. Your one antenna. You haven't had to do any maintenance on your 2-meter antenna though, but you probably should check some of that stuff out.
That one is, I can't get to that one. So if that thing shits the bed, I'm going to have to buy a cherry picker or something. It's too high up. I don't have a ladder high enough. I did it when the cherry picker was here, when they were fixing my chimney, and they left it. So I put it up on the weekend, and they left it there all weekend, and they had the keys in it, so I used it. So I haven't been up there in a couple of years. It still works. Okay. But my HF antenna, what I do is when it does get ice on it, start using it. Thing heats up and melts the ice right away. So okay. And then I just hope and pray that it just doesn't sag too far down and stays up there. And it was windy this weekend, and that thing was blowing all over the place, and it's still up there. So I think we got it up there pretty good.
Okay. So you got a little bit of a setup there. And so you thought any more about like, okay, power goes out. What do you got for that?
All right. So I got a backup battery. I got my solar panel. I got my big battery charged up, ready to go that I use for field day. I've got 2 generators, house generator and a smaller one. Someday I'm going to get like one of those bigger battery pack generators that can basically do the main appliances, but you can have it inside your home.
Power wall or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think I'm. I mean, they're coming down in price. They're still overpriced, but they're basically just a big battery that you can plug shit into.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, so as for ham radio, like if the power goes out, well, I got my battery backup, and I've been thinking about. At some point when I find the time, maybe after baseball ends for me, I want to put my whole all my radio gear. I want to set it up on a solar panel. So I want to use it. I want batteries, and I want to run it off the batteries, not off my house, and just have it constantly charging, and that way it'll just always be on. And who knows?
Okay.
That's just an idea I have. As for other prep, if I lost my HF stuff, I'd probably just throw up my, if the wire came down, I had the need to be on HF in the shack. I just throw up the Buddy Pole Pro. Seems to work. Just stick it outside my front yard.
You heard it here, folks.
And just use that temporarily until Eric can come over and shoot the thing back up in the tree.
I am not advertising antenna repair services, just letting everybody know in advance.
And speaking of, did you see at Nearfest that they were selling guns?
Yeah,
antenna launchers?
They were huge cannon launchers. Yeah. I saw those. I was like, yeah, this is too big for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got a couple of things. So we're going to circle around kind of in this what I'll call the micro stuff, meaning like HTs and batteries and all that kind of stuff in a bit. But
yeah, I mean, I've got the HTs and things charged and batteries and stuff. I mean, worst case scenarios, I just grab my POTA bag and go in the car, and I'm good to go.
Okay, so sounds like you got some modes of communication with you, and a kind of semi light plan of getting things ready. So I know once I tell Paul we're gonna get like the whole plan because I know it's coming because he's probably the most prepared out of all of us.
The water, I would say my number one prepare. What I should do more is just buy more ammo, because the way the world's going, I'm probably going to need it. But I got a plan for that, because my neighbor up the road, he's a nut. He's got more ammo than probably the U.S. military, and
So
he
you
told
know
me,
where
he
to
goes,
go.
"If shit hits the fan, just come up to my barn, and we'll be good to go." I said, "All right."
Well, okay. All right. So we'll start with Paul, because it's going to spark some questions for me, because I've got a light setup, and I'm probably in the same boat as Todd. I'm not like overly, we'll say, prepared. I do have some contingencies in place, but it was making me think, because it's like, yeah, what do I even have for like the basics of stuff that's non-ham radio related that kind of would be like essentials that I know I got, caught with my pants down when we had that huge ice storm 30 years ago, whatever it was, and really wish I had. But so enlighten us, oh dear, Mr. N1OG.
The honorary Eagle Scout.
Yeah, exactly.
The scout that never made it through scouts. Well, so I would say ham radio wise. Okay, let's start there. Antenna selection is important. And so from the start, I chose an antenna that was built and designed for New England weather, and that's the K1 JEK Cobra Ultralight. The first round, I had the Junior up, which is a shorter antenna. I think it's 75 feet total length. But I learned some things first couple winters, right? Like I didn't have ways to have strain relief for the trees swaying, and ways to have strain relief for the ice and the snow. And so, like Todd, I had to call on Eric in the spring a couple times and say, "Hey, can you help me get this antenna back up?" But unlike Todd, I revised the antenna setup each time, right? And so
I got mine better. I got springs and stuff on it.
Yeah, but did you use steel cable?
No, I'm not as good as him. I know what he's going to say.
All right, so in the final iteration, what I did was I took 100-foot steel cables, and I attached a pulley on one end and left the other end, a loop so that I could tie it off. And so the pulley is where the Dacron runs through for the antenna, and that comes down to springs for screen doors. So I got 2 screen door springs on either side, and the pulley is on a steel cable. And so, like, in doing traditional prepare for winter, activities. Yesterday, I went out and I double checked my steel cables and made sure the tree hadn't grown, through them, and I could move them, and I could move my pulleys, and that my Dacron lines were free, and the vines hadn't, climbed up the line and made it so that the springs were rendered ineffective. So the antenna is good. I do have a backup, which is the Cushcraft R7. Which Eric also helped me put that up.
Speaking of Cushcraft, I was hanging out with Bob Cushman. That was his company today.
That was his company. Oh, today?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he flies
the flight.
He flies the model airplanes, and he goes CQDX, CQDX. How he responds to me now. Like, what's up, Bob?
Bob.
Yeah. But yeah. So go ahead. Good antenna.
If I had the ability to have a tower, I would definitely go with the VHQ hex beam, because that's also built for New England weather. Steve OSX, he's got one. He's right around the corner from me, and I always envy the ability to turn the antenna. I can't turn mine, but so then once you come in, right, I've got 4 batteries as backup, plus my 100 amp hour, and multiple solar panel setups so that I can recharge everything. If I can't use the computer now because there's no power or whatever, now at least I've got the Toughbook as a backup, and I can charge the Toughbook off of 12 volts. So there's redundancies in regards to the HF ham radio setup.
Okay.
Then I've also got battery backups for my heat and hot water, because hey, if we have a bad winter, which I don't think we're going to have a bad winter again for another couple of years,
A while,
but once it's going to come around, and we'll be without power sometimes, 2-3 days, and so you want to be able to at least have heat and hot water at the bare minimum.
Yep. Okay.
We changed our electric kitchen stove to a gas stove, so now even if the power goes out, we can still cook.
Yep.
And then I've got I think 12 5-gallon bottles of Poland Spring water in reserve, plus I don't know, 5 pounds of rice and a lot of spam and corn.
Spam.
Yeah, corned beef and beef stew cans and canned chicken, canned tuna. The kind of staples that'll get you through tough times if you need to.
Okay. So yeah, now I feel real bad, and I'm gonna go cry after this. But a couple of things. So obviously you got some good resilient backup systems around your antennas and stuff. I know I'm trying more often in my kind of seasonal like cleanup items, like Todd was saying earlier, where he is doing some yard work and things to prep for winterization and that stuff. Are you doing that twice a year on your antennas a lot of times?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Spring and fall.
Okay. How often are you doing a lot of coax repair or replacement all, or are your lines pretty decent? Are you testing any of those at all?
No, all the lines are good. The only long run I have is the VHF UHF, which is LMR 400.
Okay.
And I go up every spring, and I undo the connection, and I re-Vaseline it, and make sure it's good. And then the only issue that I had was I chose a poor mast selection. I used a clothes rod for a closet, and I thought that the vinyl coating on the outside would keep it from rotting, and no,
not meant for UV.
it only lasted 2 years, and then it rotted out and broke. But it's just mounted on the chimney now.
So you apply the Callum approach of waterproofing your connectors with Vaseline, not an amalgamated tape guy, or just don't like the dealing with the cut of the crap type stuff?
Well, so I've used the tape, and the tape doesn't always work 100%. So
Mhm.
even if you're going to use the tape, a little Vaseline is just the ticket, because I
Okay.
mean it's petroleum. It repels water.
Yeah, I I haven't committed myself to go that route yet. I did it to my DX Commander for a bit, and then I realized after because it was so low to the ground, and the dirt and everything that was getting into it was just like making it like really gross to pull the connector off and fix it and stuff like that. So I ended up going the amalgamated and then electrical tape. But at the same time, that's no better anyway, because once you get that vulcanized and it starts to stick to each other, you're literally going to cut your coax anyway in half, because you're going to get so pissed off because you can't get the tape off of the connector, and you're just going to cut it anyway and put a new connector on. So I guess it's a good maintenance step, because you want to test your connectors for continuity and stuff. But I haven't done that yet, and that's kind of one of my fears that I keep hearing on other podcasts. They're like, "Oh yeah, there's a shelf life to coax," and I'm like, yeah. I heard that story, but then guess what's going to happen is that shelf life's going to come back around, and my SW, like I was seeing it a little bit today on 10 meters, but I think it was just the band and where I was sitting. But I'm always concerned that my coax is going to eventually decide that it's time to fail, and it's going to be when everything's covered in snow.
Well, my coax, the way it is now, is the way my off-center dipole is. It kind of hangs on the corner in the air in my house, and it comes down through my tree, which is next to my corner of my house, and right into the second story. So it actually never even touches the ground.
Okay.
So I think I like, yeah, there's nothing on the ground. So it's like, it's, even though it's kind of suspended in the air, I mean, obviously the sun, and it does get snow on it, but I think it's better off than just sitting in the ground getting corroded by constant moisture and stuff. So.
And you just proved my point why I said you should put a conduit in to where your DX Commander is going. But hey, we won't talk about that. Because once you bury it.
Well, when are you going to come over and we can do that? I finally cleared that. The place is all cleared out, ready to go.
Well, yeah, you tell me when you're not working. Thursday, right? Is what it is.
Yeah, I'm going to be in Boston, so yeah. It's not gonna happen.
Well, there you go.
These kids are killing me.
They all are. That's what happens, man. And then the wife takes over.
It's like I just got to retire, and I'll be good to go. But I was retired this summer, and I didn't get to it either, did I?
Right, exactly. You just became the poster child to retirement before you retire.
I was as busy as I was this summer as I am doing work, and that's what the problem is. So now, on the weekends when I should be playing, DXing and having fun, I'm out there cutting grass, blowing leaves, moving furniture, because it gets so damn dark so quick. By the time I get home, it's already half dark. And after next week, we're screwed. It'll be like 4:30. It'll be dark out.
Okay.
Well, you can't do anything. What am I going to do outside when I get home from work? There's nothing to do.
I'm with you,
unless I wear a headlamp and be like, what's that psycho cutting the grass in the middle of the night?
It's the circle of trust, man. No harm, no fouls. But okay, so I batteries. You were talking about batteries. I know, Todd, you've got generators and stuff, and I sort of the same boat. What do you? Are your batteries fully powering your shack too, Paul, or no?
So not fully powering.
Okay.
But I've got 4 12-volt car batteries that I've got all wired together, and I keep it on a trickle charger. So it's always ready to go. And then, for testing purposes or whatever, I'll disconnect the power supply, and I'll power pole everything up to the batteries, and just run the batteries down to nothing, and then, charge them back up just to keep them fresh.
Now, how often are you doing that cycle wise?
Well, once a month.
Oh, wow. Jeez, that's committed. Okay. I'm barely lucky if I can remember to haul my generator out and start it up.
It's really, because everything's power poled, it's easy. I'm just disconnecting the power pole from the power supply and connecting it to the battery. We're good.
Now, do you, all of that's still kind of a manual process. So when the power goes out, you're cutting over, but it's probably like 10 minutes worth of work.
Yeah, about that. And I've got plenty of, headlamps and flashlights. So even if it was pitch black in here, I could still get it done.
Now, are you backfeeding your panel kind of thing to your batteries, or no?
No, I've got no backup for the house.
Okay, so it's just the heat and hot water.
Just the heat and hot water and the radio. Yep.
Interesting. All right, yeah, because that's kind of what I thought was like. I've got we'll call my generator the convenience factor because it's more of the fact that I'm tired of sitting in the living room with candles on and entertaining the family, and they all need to charge their cell phone. So the generator suffices that whole house power back fed kind of scenario. But it got me thinking. It's like, I don't have any battery backup at all for my shack area. I mean, obviously, it would all come up when I fire up the generator, but I've never run the shack with the generator at the same time, so I don't know what the radio would do if I wanted to go send 80 watts down the wire.
Yeah, mine doesn't do anything.
It doesn't win. Yeah.
No. My generator will rev if the water pump comes on. Or,
right.
It's, I think I forget what it is, 5500, but it does all the parts that I need it to do. Like we can live, you could use the microwave, but you'd have to turn everything else off, for the microwave to work.
It's the same with like the dryer too, like a 240 type thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But with the generator on, I got of course, I have it running to the shack too. And I don't see any difference. But when the power is off and there's no power going into this house and I'm just running off the battery backup, it's freaking phenomenal. So like, I feel like I should just, when I really want to do some ham radio, just go freaking pull the switch,
kill the mains,
kill the main, and just be like, all right, Dad's doing ham radio.
That's a photo park in your bedroom.
Here's a question though, right? Because I do have a small generator as an emergency backup, like should I need to run my fridge or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But now I've got stabilized gas in storage cans just for that purpose, just in case. So if you're a gas or diesel generator, do you have stabilized gas or diesel? And how much do you have in supply, and how long will that last you?
Now, when you say stabilize, you're talking about you're adding an additive to keep it balanced and actual gas, so it doesn't turn to whatever.
Stable.
Yeah, exactly.
Stable. Yeah. I always put that when I have a couple. Let's see, 1, 2. I probably have 4 big ones and a whole bunch of little ones that I normally just transfer in because the big ones are a pain in, too hard to fill the generator up when it's full. It's just easy to have them switch. But I put that Stabile or whatever it's called in it every time I fill them up because you never know how long you're going to use it for. And then that way, if it's in the generator and you have some in there, it's just sitting in there and it's not going to clog the things. But I normally run the generator. I turn the gas off and run the generator just so the carburetor stays clean.
Yeah.
And my new portable one actually has it's got a feature on it that before you turn it off, you turn it to this switch and it'll run until it runs out. It'll turn the gas off, but it will run all the way through and then you turn it off. So it does like it clears it out. But yeah,
like manually shutting off the petcock. Yeah. So you basically drain the lines and don't keep gas in the line.
But I use the gas for the lawnmower, and then I use it for the generators, and I also use it for the Polaris Ranger that I plow. So that one, I go through gas on that all the time because I'm all winter long I'm plowing, so it goes through. But I only used a whole tank this summer, so it's not too bad. I just filled it up today.
So I'm kind of in the same boat as you guys. I mean, literally just my only problem is I don't have lawnmowers and stuff because I have an HOA. So like I have to figure out how to get rid of that gas once a year because it just sits there if I don't throw it in the gas. I don't run it in the generator. Here. Well, that's one thing. Or I'll bring it to field day and I'll run it at field day, for the whole entire weekend, and I'll probably go through the whole, at least whatever I pour into the tank because, I'm powering a camper or something like that. But yeah, that's kind of one of those things that, I have to add to my list of, maintenance. It's like, okay. And here's a little tip that I learned. And I learned this kind of on the battery side. I don't know if you guys do this with your own batteries, but every battery either I build or that I buy, I write the date on it of the month and the day of when I got it. And so what I do that with my gas can is I've got the date, written on it. It's like on one side of the tank, it literally looks like a, kind of a punch list of like, how they used to use the stamps on the side of planes, because it's just got the date keep rolling. and it's all for the purposes of how long has the gas been sitting there. Even if I'm putting stable in it, my dad always told me, it's like, oh, don't let it sit too long, it'll just turn to whatever and in sulfur. And I'm like, yeah, but they've got
You can
all the
always pour it
additives
into
in them.
pour it into an oil pan, leave it out in the sun in the summer, it'll evaporate.
I didn't think about that. I'm sure my neighbor
Or
at
what
HOA
I
would love
do,
that.
what I do with it is I just throw it on the burn pile.
I'm not allowed to do that either. So it's strike two, Todd. Any other suggestions? Just bring it to you and Paul.
Yeah, bring
you
it to
guys
me.
can burn it.
We'll take care of it. No,
Okay.
It's funny. It's funny you say that you do that on the batteries because I've got so many different LiPo batteries and I'm slowly going through and testing them out. And so I put the date of when I got them. And I was flying. I had a couple batteries. They're 3-cell 2200 batteries, and they're very popular. And I've got tons of them. And I was flying with them, and I'm like, when I started going back to flying, I hadn't used them in a while. I charged them up, and they just didn't have the pop or whatever. So I bought a new one, like brand new one. I was like, oh, now this is like feeling like it should be. And I just found out that even though the cells and everything, because I can test them to see what each cell is at, they just lose their pop.
Yeah,
so I had those are from
right.
2019. It's 2024. So, you're looking at 5-year batteries and they're pretty much shot. So I just bring them to the dump and they take care of them for me. But it's good that you put your the date or at least the year, the month and the year of when you got them, because then you have an idea of how old they are and
Yeah.
And
I don't know about you, but I suffer from can't remember shit. So that's always one of those things. I'm never going to remember what the battery was.
Yeah. And, and it's just like, it's kind of funny. They're like, oh, how old are those batteries? And I flip it over, like, oh, 2019. Yeah, those are pretty old. Because they typically last like a year, maybe 2, if you're flying them all the time.
Well, and if you're not exercising them, they're going to just, like Paul did. Was it you did with a set of batteries you had recently where you just powered them all the way down to nothing? Or was that you, Todd, that you were saying that you brought them all the way down to zero?
It was the Tough Book.
Right. Yes, that's it.
So
yeah, I reconditioned the Tough Book battery.
So they've got now. So when you're doing LiPo batteries, you want to put them in storage mode if you're not going to use them. So you want to basically bring them down to like 50%, and that's the storage mode. And my battery charges for my LiPos, you can just hit storage and then it'll do it itself. Mm-hmm. But the company now has these things called smart batteries. Can you see them?
Yeah, they got the little BMS in them.
Yeah, so it has in the middle of the connector, it's got a little copper pin, and that goes into the charger. And when you charge these things, you just plug them in. You don't have to balance them. It does it all through that. And there's a microchip in there, and you can program the microchip to how long you want it to stay charged before it'll automatically self-discharge back to storage mode. So,
nice.
Like this will do. I think this one's at like 72 hours. So I charge it up. I don't use it. In 72 hours, it will discharge itself down to 50%, which is you're supposed to do that anyway. But if I have like 10 of these, I'm not going to sit there after flying all day, go down to the thing and watch them discharge. It doesn't happen instantly. So no one does it. So they came up with this. So the battery technology is basically, they're getting better and smarter. And if they can put microchips in it to have them self-discharge or whatever, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, and that'll save things longer. But these batteries, LiPos, are very, you got to take care of them because they blow up or catch on fire. Yeah. You can't put them out. I mean, we've tried it. We shot one with a 22 and it just burned, and we threw fire extinguisher on it, dirt, water, nothing. Buried it, threw it and kicked it in a hole, buried it. It was coming through the sand. This shit doesn't stop burning. So it's the same kind of idea like what's in an electric car. That's like if you have an electric car and you're sitting on huge batteries that are highly volatile, if you get in a car accident, get the hell out of it. Because if you ever look at every accident a Tesla's in, it turns to a crisp because you can't put it out.
They don't even have to get into accidents. They just
self-cut.
Yeah. Well, right. But that's what I'm saying. Like these batteries, the chemicals inside, if they get if you crash a plane and you damage the battery, the battery will catch on fire or it'll puff. Like, I don't know if you've ever had like a computer
seen
where
them,
it's just
yeah.
like puffed up. Like it happened to me a couple like over COVID. My laptop, I'm typing, all of a sudden it was like poof. I was like, oh shit.
Throw it in the snow.
Fortunately, I was outside on the deck on the picnic table, doing my work. But yeah, you got to be careful. And like, I don't leave these. I put all these batteries in lipo bags or in army. What do you call it? The bullet cans. But if you put them in those bullet cans, you have to have. You got to drill a hole or two in them so it doesn't explode. The box doesn't explode, so it can vent out.
Building
So,
a bomb with a bomb.
Yeah, I mean they're safe, but they're you got to be careful with them, and you can't just let them be. So
shift gears. I guess obviously we could go into battery technology for hours, I'm sure. What are you guys doing for like regular kind of other we'll call secondary stuff? So one of the things, a couple of things come to mind. Like you guys have stores for spare like batteries. Are you all on rechargeables only? For like all the flashlights and that type of stuff for the non-prepared folks in the family that need them. And, are you using any other kind of things like that or around that to kind of be prepared for like even the small, like, blips or storms that happen where we knock out power?
We have a whole drawer full of every type of battery you could possibly think of. And we have those little lanterns all over the house. Upstairs, downstairs, they're like, some of them are cheap ones, but other ones are more like you pull them up and there's, it's just like a huge lantern light. Or even those, like anytime I like Harbor Freight, you'll get a thing like, oh, get a free flashlight. Like I just grab those things all the time. I got drawers of them. But it's funny because, you look at like, oh, what do you need all those for? But when the power goes out, it's always nice to just reach into a drawer and there's a flashlight there.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Or
and I just, yeah, and those, the batteries cost more than a flashlight. So when they die, I just toss them because I'll get another coupon for another free one.
How about you, Paul? What do you got?
So as to like secondary things, I've got a drawer full of batteries, but I've got a lot of AA and AAA that are rechargeables because that's what you go through the most. But in addition to that, I would throw as a necessary secondary item frequency lists.
Yeah,
I've got a binder full of all sorts of different emergency frequency lists, FEMA frequencies, ARES frequencies, Homeland Security frequencies. And granted, they're area specific, right? So somebody couldn't take my binder and go to Texas and make contact with the same, emergency services. You gotta kind of do the research on your own and figure out, what the emergency plans are for the agencies that are in your area. And most of them have their frequency lists public. And so download them, print them, freaking, put a binder together so that at least when you don't have access to the internet, if you need to reach emergency personnel, you've got a list that you can go to and you can put those frequencies in your radio and you can get the help that you need. I think that's a key secondary thing that often is probably overlooked.
Now, are you good?
No, what would be a cool idea is go get one of those Quanshang, Baofeng, whatever radios, and just put in all those emergency frequencies and just have that as a backup of just that radio, just for that, like doomsday radio. Like you need to get the frequencies that you're not going to use on a daily basis, but you might use as a thing, and then they'd be already in the radio. And those radios are cheap. I think Temu or whatever, you can get them for. I think the first order you get them for like $10. Yeah, it was like I looked up one. It was like $9.99. I was like $9.99.
Well, you can also use what you've got. I mean, my 706, I've got the common ARES channels all programmed in. They're all in my FTM 400 in the truck, and they're also in my HT. So yeah, 100%. Like, I mean, have those frequencies already stored in channels in your radio. And if you've got an A band and a B band, make the B band your emergency channels. Make the
never.
A band,
it's always going to be APRS.
I've been putting the Epson repeater on the B band, and Ralph is on he's on both ours and them, and he'll be calling out, and I'll be on our channel. I'll respond to him because I won't see what channel he called on. I hear nothing, and I go to the other one.
You
So,
AB folks, you Casey and everybody suffer from that. Stop doing that. You're killing. We're not multitaskers. One channel at a time, friends. One channel or put it on scan. That's my advice. That'll solve your problem. Go back to APRS. Anyway,
I hate APRS.
Why? What has it done to hurt you?
It beeps all the time. It annoys the shit out of me. Why do I need to know where people? It's like Big Brother following me around wherever I'm driving.
I happen to like to know that when I saw Todd Beacon, that he was actually on the air, and I could actually reach out to him. And so when I called and he didn't respond, I could be like texting him, "Hey, idiot! I know you're out driving. Why aren't you responding to me?" All right. So yeah, let's kind of. I mean, this is a topic that I know was probably way over, longer than an hour or so we do at our show here. So we if it's interesting to folks, we might break this down a little bit in some certain areas, because I'm learning more that I'm not prepared enough to get like the basics together that I think I should. And being the Eagle Scout, that's almost embarrassing to say out loud and on the air and have a recorded record of it. But hey, it is what it is. Like Todd, you and I suffered really hard when we were at Nearfest and we couldn't program a stupid simplex frequency on our FT3. That was what I was like, oh, okay, I'm horrible. We did it out. We did, yeah. But it required both of us being in the same place. So imagine if you were alone and you were trying to figure it out and you couldn't call me to say, hey, how do we fix this? That's what I'm looking at. So I was like thinking, Paul's going to have to know how to do this. And, he admitted the same thing. He was like, I think it was this. And I figured out where it was.
But I don't use that radio hardly ever.
No, but would you? Like here's the question.
300, I could have done it.
Well, yeah. But okay, so here's a scenario. So we're in an ice storm and you need comms because your cell phone's dead. And you want to say we have a welfare check on the repeater. Okay, yeah, the 300, great. But what happens if your wife, she has to use a radio?
She is shit out of luck because she makes fun of me and says ham radio's stupid. So yeah,
you heard it here, folks.
Shit out of luck.
So here's my question to you, Paul. Is any of your family prepared for that kind of radio side of things, or you got them? You got radios for them to use if you needed to.
So that's where we have the Channel 3 protocol fallback.
Okay.
So the family isn't into radio, but like my in-laws live across the street, and my father-in-law just turned 78. My mother-in-law's 72, 74, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. And thank God they don't watch this, because otherwise they'd be mad I was giving their ages out. But but they've got FRS radios, and they know Channel 3.
Okay.
And so my son, he takes radios with him. I keep trying to get him to get licensed. He's 14. He wants to play with girls and bicycles and whatever, right? Mm-hmm. I get it. But he at least knows, grab a handheld radio, go to Channel 3, and mm-hmm. I'll be listening, and that's just it. I have in my VHF UHF radio, I have Channel 3 for FRS programmed in so that I can quickly go to it. I know, right?
You violator.
Not FCC compliant there, but
in case of emergency, use any frequency available.
Yeah, so Channel 3 protocol is the family fallback.
Okay, so you have some mode there. So Todd's basically, told the family sink or swim. I have a feeling.
I just told my wife that. My
okay,
son,
sorry.
Zach's hung around me enough that he knows the radio stuff. He even knows, he's in the car a lot when I'm on the radio. He's been here in the shack. He will remind me that there's a net, and he's gone on the air a few times. I think he would know if there was a problem. If I was out and everything went out and there was an emergency, he'd probably get on the ham radio and call out to me.
Okay.
I think he would. I think he knows. I mean, even though he knows it's illegal, but he says, well, he goes, if the world's coming to an end, I go, if the world's coming to the end, I don't think the government's going to be coming after you for using the radio. I said, so go nuts.
Heck, the government didn't even come after half of the folks that were using their radios when Hurricane Helene rolled through and they popped open on a repeater going, I don't have a call sign, but can I have help? And thank God there's some smart hams to say, sure, we'll help you out. But so ultimately, kind of just in, just transfer of, ownership, like, even though your wife won't have radio, Todd, your son will play with the radio. So therefore he's not going to let mom just, fade away. So he'll have to be the translator between you and the radio, just to let you know. But
I'm probably the one person in the world that's kind of looking forward to all shit breaking loose, just so I can say, "Told you so."
I see.
She's like, she goes, "What's the big idea?" So you talk to Australia. She goes, "I could just pick up my phone and call Australia." I'm like, "Do you know anyone in Australia? Go for it. Do it now." Well, I don't know anyone. I say, "All right, but I can talk to people in Australia." She goes, "So what?"
Yes, they won't understand the benefits.
Yeah, okay, and look at being on ham radio and understanding how it works. I mean, shortwave, we have all access to shortwave through our radios, there's going to be a lot of communication on shortwaves, at least news and stuff of what's going on, because it's not like you're going to be on your,
so here's an example, like broadcast was totally down when it was in South Carolina. They lost like 4 or 5 of their broadcast AM, FM stations, and they had no way of like reaching those folks in the middle of like, Neverland. And so, they realized
I'm just saying that those guys that are doing like the pirate radio and stuff, they're going to be on. Yeah. And then those guys, like, let's say like those huge DXers, the guys that are pushing like 10,000 watts at us, calling CQ, a guy in Brazil might be able to give you updates. I mean, I think the ham radio will, especially like 10 meters, 20 meters, whatever is open. If there was a worldwide disaster, I think the bands they would light up. Every ham radio operator would be on there passing information. So,
yep, I'd be on 14300 talking to everybody and not checking in the damn net. So, all right. So we can kind of put a little close to this. What one thing would you tell somebody who's might be listening to, like, who's not done any of this whatsoever, is not like considering themselves in that prepper kind of approach, but wants to like have some level of security? What one thing would you say they could start in or get towards or move in a direction to when it comes to like kind of getting a little bit more prepared for this stuff, ham radio or non-ham radio, that you kind of learned or you gleaned from, doing what you guys built already?
So the big thing, right, is you got to have priorities. And the top priorities is always going to be food, shelter, and then communications.
Mm-hmm.
And so you always want to make sure that you've got a safe place to be during a weather emergency or some type of natural disaster or whatever the case may be. So you want to be comfortable and safe in your own space. And you want to have food to get you through at least 6 days, at a very, very, very minimum, at least 6 days. Ideally, you want to go 2 weeks or more. And then have your radio backup communications set up. It doesn't have to cost a fortune. None of this has to cost a fortune. Preparing for, what ifs should never break the bank. You shouldn't have to remortgage your house, right, to cover your bases if something was to ever go wrong. So be smart about it, make a list, prioritize, and make sure that you check the boxes as you're able to do.
That 706 Mark II G does the same thing as a Flex 6400, just a way cheaper.
Yeah.
How about you, Todd?
No, I agree with that. I mean, just I think food, water, is the most important. Shelter, you don't want to be out there, but depending on what the disaster is, I mean, you never know what's going to happen. So just be prepared for anything. And like I said, my goal would be, if there was a disaster going on, my first thing would be like, get everyone home. get everyone home, and if they can't get home, get them home. And then from there, and I live in like I said, my parents are 2 houses down, kind of like your in-laws are across the street. So that helps. And like I said, my neighbor, he's ex-military, ex-cop, and he's got all kinds of stuff. They run a kennel up there. He's got tractors. He's got everything. And he's basically told, he said to me, he goes, dude, if all shit breaks loose, he goes, you just come up here. He goes, we'll be set. He goes, we'll fortify this neighborhood. Yep. I'm like, well, I hope it doesn't go that bad. But, I just think, I have an uncle down in Maryland, and he raised his kids on this big farm. And my cousin bought the house that he grew up in, and my uncle moved like 2 houses down. But my cousin has really gotten into it, and he's actually got, they do gardening, canning. They've got goats, they've got chickens, they've got, I don't know what else they have, but like they're pretty much like if food became a problem, they're prepared to like live off their own, whatever they're
self-reliant.
Yeah, and they could go hunting. I mean, there's deer in the back field every day, so like they could survive without having to go to the grocery store or something. I mean, I don't have that opportunity to do all that stuff, but it's kind of cool that they're doing it, and they've done a pretty good job. I was down there this summer, and just the way they've got their coops set up and all their stuff, their water, their chicken, their they do the cannery and stuff, and they freeze dry stuff. I mean, they do everything. So they're way more prepared than I am. But like I said, I mean, shit, worst case scenario is I just go down there too, right? It's only a 3, 4, 8 hour drive.
Just don't drive your Tesla. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. I don't have a Tesla, but I think about it a lot. I know that there's like the Patriot Supply, which is like you can buy food that'll last like, what is it, like 25 years or 75 years or something. It's kind of expensive, but then on the other hand, if you look at what you're getting at, how many meals you get based on what it costs to go grocery shopping, it might be cheaper just to buy that shit and eat that all the time. But that's another way to and I always think about doing that. Like, okay, maybe clear out a shelf in the basement and just stock it with that freeze dried food. And like you said, I've got gallons of water, like Poland Spring, or it's not Poland Spring, but those big jugs just sitting in the basement just for if there's ever an emergency. I mean, we're on a well, so my generator will pump water. I've got a good filtration system in the house. So, I mean, even if, power went out, I could turn the generator on and get water. Yep. But it's always good to have emergency water in the house. So,
okay. Well, I would say all good stuff. I think one thing that I've kind of learned is just all of that you guys talked about definitely are all like, we'll say for like the bigger kind of events. In my mind, I'm thinking like, okay, micro events like, hey, we get an ice storm where we're out for 2 weeks or whatever. I'm thinking like, okay, yeah, the bare necessities, batteries, water, all that stuff that you guys mentioned, which is definitely all the things that I've got kind of stocked up just in general for everyday use, and it gets cycled through. But like even the unmentionables that we always hear on the news, the toilet paper, the paper towels, all of like those things, we all want to make sure that we have them available. And even though I give my wife a hard time, a lot of things like towels and extra blankets and things like that, because I'm tired of trying to come up with creative places to store them, but having them available there and all of that, those are important. And one thing I learned, obviously when we had that huge ice storm about 30 years ago, that we, having that stuff available, but more so the one thing that I really am starting to try to develop better is, and you see a lot with HRCC, is coming out what they call the everyday carry bag. It sounds like it's prepper for me, but at the same time, I'm snuggling up to it because I think it's important to have all of those components in it, because it makes me more prepared for whatever situations might happen, even just on an everyday perspective. But more so thinking like, okay, well, if I got that small little thing that I'm carrying around with me, what more can I do in my vehicles to have a radio there and that prepared, and extra fuel and extra batteries and all of those things, are all starting to kind of whirl in my head, because, if the end times happen, I want to be able to at least function. But like Todd said, my family's first and foremost, the important thing to have all back circled. And my kids are older, so they're out doing their own thing. They're not thinking about like end times. They're like, hey, I'm going to stay out till 2 a.m. and I'm like, do I have to get up for work the next day is on their, top 10 list. And so, getting them prepared, like I was thinking like putting simple like FRS or GMRS radios in their cars to just, my daughter's a ham and I'm trying to get her to get a mobile rig in her car, in her Jeep, because I'm like, if you have it, it's great. She's like, I don't want it. It's like, I'm not going to use it. I'm like, yeah, I get it. You won't use it. So, the HT is the other option. So I'm thinking kind of along those lines, but those are kind of the small things I'm just starting with and then just adding to it along the way, because, it's a plan and it's a process. And like you had mentioned, Todd, with your family down in Maryland, they sound like they've been building for a long time. And that's the thing that what I stress to anybody is like, it doesn't happen overnight. Don't go mortgaging the house, like Paul said, to get prepared, like in a panic mode. Do it like gradually over time and you'll get there, because, emergencies might happen, but they aren't going to be as bad as like the end times, unless, we all miss the signs and we're all busy, head down playing ham radio the whole entire time and forget about the rest of the world and what's going on. But I highly doubt, we're in that scenario. So yeah, good stuff. It's a good topic to talk about. I like it. I think we should definitely, elaborate more on it, as we kind of go on. And I'd love to have, I was thinking we should talk to BioEnno and see if we can get them on to talk battery stuff. That'd be really cool to kind of just dive into all of that, the geekiness there. Cause I know we've got some setups and we could benefit some really good, knowledge, truth transfer.
Well, and we could literally talk for hours on the different types of everyday carry, right? Like, I love that you're getting into, a small everyday carry bag, but at some point you'll graduate to the get home bag, that will live in your truck, and it's, okay, if the truck breaks down because of an EMP or whatever, right? You need to get home. You've got all the essentials in one bag. You grab that bag out of your vehicle and you can go and you can get home. Oh yeah, we could go on for hours.
Well, okay. Well, so
I'm gonna have to have a whole tag along trailer to be prepared everywhere I go.
I just keep pulling this trailer with me all the time. It's got everything I needed. I'm good. So here's go ahead, Todd.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say. So here's the thing. We'll throw it out to you guys, our listeners. So, is this something that's interests you? If it is, we're going to create a channel over on our Discord. We're going to open it up. We're going to talk more. We're going to see if we can share. And hey, if there's some stuff that comes out of it and you want us to like do a little deeper dive on everyday carries and, hear what we're kind of going through and share some stories, then let us know. We'll include it in, our next episode or a couple episodes in the future. But head over to our Discord, check that out. If you haven't joined it, the link is on our website. So head over to livefreeandham.com and click the Discord link down in the bottom of the footer, and you can join and be part of that conversation. We want to hear, what you guys do for your everyday carries and your preparedness for, disasters in and around, your family and home and job and work and stuff. So yeah, I'll throw that out there. So hopefully we'll hear more and we'll have more conversation around that. It'd be cool. Okay. So, all right. Well, with that, we are, man, we're getting a little longer every time. Our episodes keep creeping up on that 2-hour time mark. It's almost like, we're getting into, the scary parts. We might become a ham radio clubhouse or, HRCC or something. I don't know. This is just a little news.
We got a long way to go for HRCC.
True. Very true.
It takes me 2 weeks to listen to their podcast or his podcast. And
wow, you don't drive far enough, I guess.
No, and then it's like, and then all of a sudden the next one comes up. So I'm like, I'm always behind. So hour and a half is probably the sweet deal. Spot. Yeah.
Well, over
that, it's like I look at a podcast like 4 hours. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to get to that.
Yeah, HRCC was like that at one time. Okay, well, any last tidbits before I dive in and close out the show?
Just don't break the bank, but always be thinking about, being prepared for whatever may come your way.
And we'll be posting Paul's address in the show notes. So when the shit does hit the fan, just head over there.
Just go there. Go there. Dude, I think we're better off going to your neighborhood based off of what you're just telling us.
Oh, yeah. I'm telling you, he's no like his plan is like he believes that the world is just gone to crap, and his plan is to move somewhere out in the middle of the woods and fortify himself.
Oh boy! All right, well, you heard it here, and hopefully, that'll go no further. But anyway, all right. So as always, thank you again for listening to Live Free and Ham. We appreciate all you guys that are part of the community there. And remember, if you haven't subscribed, we're going to ask the question, what the hell you been doing? Come on. Like, if you're listening to this as your first podcast, hopefully you subscribe and become part of the community. We love to have you, and come join the conversation and be part of what's going on. And so with that, there's always several ways you can always connect with us and the show. You can head over to livefreeandham.com/shop. Check out all of our merch as always. And if you listen to us on either Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast player, but mostly Apple Podcasts, you can leave us a review over there. But, if you're not into that and you're not an Apple listener, you can always use our SMS link down in all of our show notes and click that and leave us a note, a nice quick note, and we'll make sure we read it on our next episode. And you can always support the show through Patreon and buy us a beer links. But if you are a Patreon member, you get some bonus stuff. We have some great things going on that we're adding to our Patreon list. And so if you want to get early access to a lot of our episodes, because we release on a bi-weekly schedule, but we post every recorded episode up on our Patreon site. So if you're a member, you get early access to those. We're also going to start including some we'll call uncut or unfeathered or raw, Live Free and Ham. So you get to hear all of the back chatter and banter back and forth before we have to tighten our belts and look professional and access civil or whatever you want to call it. So head over to Patreon, check us out there. You can be part of that fun and be able to get access to a lot of the early releases. And if we do other things like t-shirt giveaways and things like that, you definitely want to be a part of that. If you also, you can reach any of our hosts, as always, over at livefreeandham.com. And with that, I want to say thanks again for listening. And from all of us at Live Free and Ham, 7-3.
7-3.
All right.